On a worrying Tuesday in September 2017, 31-year-old teacher Laura Wallen failed to show up for work at Wild Lake High School in Maryland, USA, which was highly unusual for her. Attempts to reach Laura were futile, she was not answering her calls. Concerned colleagues decided to contact her loved ones, but they also had no idea where the woman could be. Fruitless efforts to get in touch with Laura prompted her family to turn to law enforcement. Laura Wallen was exceptionally dedicated to her profession and students. She constantly strived for professional growth, attending various courses and trainings. Her efforts were recognized in 2016 when she received the honorary title of Teacher of the Year. Laura enthusiastically awaited the start of the new school year, so her absence on the first day of classes in 2017 caused serious concern for everyone who knew her. Upon receiving the missing person report for Laura, police officers headed to her residence in Olney, Maryland, to check for any clues. The house was locked, and neighbors reported that the woman lived alone. A thorough inspection of the surrounding area and windows revealed no signs of Laura's presence or any traces of struggle or break-in. Everything indicated that she had simply gone somewhere. The investigation took a new turn when detectives learned that Laura was in a relationship with a man named Tyler Tessier and was 4 months pregnant. This further heightened the alarm for her safety and the well-being of her unborn child. It was crucial to find the woman as soon as possible. Attempts to track Laura's whereabouts via her cell phone were unsuccessful, the device was turned off. Investigators contacted Tyler Tessier, but he claimed to have no idea where his girlfriend could be. Such behavior seemed suspicious. Why would the father of the future child not only not know where his pregnant beloved was but also not show much concern about it? The police discovered that Laura's car was missing from her house. Soon, the vehicle, a black 2011 Ford Escape, was found parked near the school where the missing woman worked. The vehicle had no visible damage and was empty. No traces of violence or struggle were found inside, nothing suspicious that could shed light on the owner's whereabouts. The search area focused around the place where Laura's car was found. Not only the woman's family and colleagues joined the efforts but also concerned citizens. People distributed flyers urging anyone to report any information about the woman. Law enforcement officers thoroughly searched the missing person's home but found nothing there that could hint at her whereabouts. Everything was in its place, nothing aroused suspicion. Detectives set about reconstructing the last days before Laura's disappearance. It became known that on September 1st, she met with her family, and the next day, September 2nd, she went somewhere with her partner Tyler. The investigation later established that on that day, Laura sent a message to her sister mentioning that Tyler was taking her somewhere out of town, but she did not know the details of this trip. The last recorded transaction from the woman's card was a purchase at a Safeway supermarket located near her home in Olney on the evening of September 2nd. Surveillance camera footage showed that Laura was not alone when making the purchase, Tyler was with her. No other information about the missing woman's movements or actions could be established. The missing person report was filed on September 5th, so it was clear that Laura disappeared between September 2nd and September 5th. The last person to see her was Tyler. Laura and Tyler's parents held a press conference on television, during which they asked anyone who had any information about the possible whereabouts of the missing woman to report it to the police. They promised a $25,000 reward for valuable information. However, Tyler himself did not participate in the press conference or join the search for the girl, which raised concern and suspicion among law enforcement. His behavior was strange, resembling indifference. Later, under public pressure and due to general suspicion towards him, Tyler finally faced the journalists. He said that he had known Laura for about 10 years. Addressing the cameras, the man said, "Laura, if you hear me, know this, it doesn't matter what happened or what problems we have. We can sort everything out together. So many people miss you and are waiting for your return. We're not sleeping, not eating, just praying that you're okay." Despite Tyler's calls for Laura to come back and his pleas to the public to report any information about her, the girl's family and the police were skeptical of his words. They no longer trusted him, sensing falsehood in his appeal. Tyler's behavior was unnatural and contrived. Detectives decided to interrogate the missing woman's partner, hoping to obtain valuable information from him. Unexpectedly for everyone, the man changed his previous testimony. He stated that shortly before her disappearance, Laura came to him and asked for help to vanish. She confessed to Tyler that she was pregnant not by him, but by one of her students. Laura was very concerned about this situation, realizing that if the truth came out, her reputation would be ruined. Therefore, she allegedly decided to run away and wait it out somewhere. Tyler insisted that Laura was fine and there was no need to look for her, it was better to leave the girl alone. But the investigators did not believe this version of events. They knew that Laura worked with elementary school students, so the likelihood of her having an relationship with a child seemed absurd. Moreover, during the examination of the missing woman's house, the police noticed that all her personal belongings, documents, clothes, money, bank cards, and wallet, remained in place. If the woman were planning to escape, she would have definitely taken these necessary items with her. Additional doubts were raised by the information obtained by detectives from Laura's bank. It turned out that after her disappearance, no transactions were made with her card. And since the woman had always paid by card before, the investigators wondered, how could she travel without money? Even more light was shed on the situation by data from Laura's medical insurance. She stopped visiting her doctor, who was monitoring her pregnancy, although she took her health and the condition of her future child very seriously. All these facts did not fit into the story of voluntary disappearance, instead, they increasingly compromised Tyler. The suspicious attitude of the investigation towards him intensified due to a series of contradictory testimonies and strange behavior. Then the detectives decided to track Tyler's movements using his cell phone. It turned out that on the eve of Laura's disappearance, he visited a remote wooded area several times. This information prompted the police to organize a thorough search in the specified territory. Canine handlers with service dogs trained to search for corpses were involved in the operation in the forest. It was thanks to these animals that a freshly dug grave was discovered in a secluded place on September 13. In a shallow pit lay the body of a woman, who was soon identified as the missing Laura Wallen. Forensic experts established that death was caused by a gunshot wound to the back of the head. DNA analysis of the unborn child showed that the father was indeed Tyler, not one of the students, as he had tried to present. Not far from the burial site, the murdered woman's cell phone was found. All the evidence pointed to Tyler's involvement in the crime. He was the last person to see Laura alive, he had repeatedly been to the area of the forest where the body was found, and he had been telling the investigation various tales. The detectives were ready to detain the suspect, but they needed a possible motive. Studying the relationship between Tyler and Laura, law enforcement officers learned that over the 10 years of their acquaintance, the couple had broken up and gotten back together several times. The relationship was complicated, but despite all the hardships, Laura was sincerely happy about her future motherhood. The same could not be said about Tyler. It turned out that in parallel with his relationship with Laura, he had an affair with another teacher, whom he met back in 2012. Tyler even lived with his mistress but told Laura that he was at work. At that time, neither woman was aware of the existence of a rival. Upon learning about the pregnancy, Laura was overwhelmingly happy, as she loved children very much and dreamed of having her own. She immediately shared this joyful news with her family. Laura's father, knowing about his daughter's difficult relationship with Tyler and rumors of his infidelity, was wary of the situation. He decided to talk to his future son-in-law and find out his intentions. Tyler assured Laura's father that he was very serious, eagerly awaiting the birth of the child, and promised to take care of his beloved. To dispel any doubts, he even showed the man an engagement ring, hinting that he planned to propose to Laura at the first opportunity. Tyler dismissed all rumors that he was seeing someone else. However, the detectives found out that the engagement ring Tyler had shown to the murdered woman's father as proof of his serious intentions, he later used to propose to another woman. That teacher accepted the proposal, and the lovers set about preparing for the wedding, choosing a dress for the bride, thinking through the decor for the celebration hall, and so on. The wedding date was set for just a month after Laura's planned delivery. It remained a mystery how exactly Tyler was going to get out of this love triangle. It is quite possible that the idea of murder had been brewing in his head long before the tragic events, although it is not excluded that everything happened spontaneously. One way or another, both women were unaware of each other's existence for a long time and believed that they were the only ones in Tyler's life. However, some time before her disappearance, Laura did find out about the rival her lover was planning to marry. On August 29, she wrote a message to Tyler asking for a meeting. "We absolutely need to meet and clarify some points. I think if you were in my place, you would also want to get answers to certain questions. This is not an attempt to confront, I just want to hear your explanations. A face-to-face conversation, woman to woman." The police tended to believe that it was this attempt by Laura to clarify the situation that proved fatal for her. Realizing that the exposure of his double life would lead to an inevitable scandal, Tyler managed to convince his fiancée that the pregnant Laura was just an obsessive ex-girlfriend who could not let him go and was openly stalking him. He even let slip that he would not mind getting rid of her, but the bride took these words as an emotional outburst, not a real intention. In fact, Laura's actions infuriated Tyler so much that he began to hatch a plan to eliminate her. Now the investigators had no doubts about the motive, and the suspect was arrested. During the interrogation, he initially denied not only his guilt but also the fact of parallel relations with another woman. But when the detectives presented irrefutable evidence, Tyler had to admit the betrayal, although he still denied involvement in the murder. According to the investigation, on September 2, Tyler took Laura for a walk in the woods. The woman's sister even received a message from her about this trip and a request to send a photo of the picturesque place where they found themselves. Laura took a picture, and later the police were able to match it with the location where the body was subsequently found. This area was well known to Tyler, as it was located not far from the farm where he worked. The man told Laura that he intended to buy a plot of land there and build a house for their future family. The woman was delighted at the prospect of having a spacious, cozy home and shared the joyful news with her sister. The next day, September 3, Tyler took Laura to the woods again, supposedly to take another look at the coveted plot. She had no idea that she was actually heading towards her own death. Waiting for the woman to turn away, the insidious lover shot her in the back of the head, not even daring to look into her eyes. The same day, he contacted a friend, asking to pick him up late in the evening from the residential complex where Laura's car was parked and take him to Baltimore. The friend refused, noting that it was not worth going on such a long journey in the middle of the night. In response, Tyler uttered a mysterious phrase, "Maybe you're right. I'm just trying to put things in order." In conclusion, he also asked his friend not to disclose this conversation. The detectives assumed that the killer, having buried Laura's body, set about destroying the evidence. He drove the victim's car to the city and left it near the school where she worked, hoping to confuse the investigation. Then he began sending messages to the deceased woman's relatives, designed to throw them off track. In particular, from the phone of the already dead Laura, he wrote to her sister, "I'm 95% sure that the child's father is not Tyler. I'm trying to contact Antoine." Relatives, who had a trusting relationship with Laura, were extremely surprised by such a message. They knew for sure that the woman did not cheat on her chosen one, and if she had cheated, it would certainly not have been with a student named Antoine. But even if we assume that Laura had reason to doubt Tyler's paternity, she would have told her sister about it in person, not through a messenger. In the end, it turned out that about a year ago, during another break in her relationship with Tyler, the woman had indeed dated someone named Antoine, but that short-lived romance lasted a very short time. Since then, Laura had no further contact with that man, so he could not possibly be the father of her unborn child. This was later confirmed by DNA testing. Tyler was charged with first-degree murder, as well as obstruction of justice, falsification of evidence, and giving false testimony. However, it was impossible to also charge him with the murder of the unborn child, since under the laws of the state of Maryland, the fetus must be viable at the time of the mother's death. Under the pressure of evidence, the suspect eventually confessed to the crime, though he presented several contradictory versions of events. At first, he claimed that on September 4, he and Laura had a heated argument, during which he announced his intention to break up. The woman allegedly cried hysterically and then attacked him with scissors. Dodging the blow, Tyler pushed her. Laura fell from the porch steps and went limp. Thinking she was dead, the man took the body to the woods and buried it there. This version, however, was refuted by the autopsy results, which indicated death from a bullet. Then the accused made up a new story. Allegedly, while burying Laura, he suddenly became afraid that she was still alive and would suffer in the grave, so he decided to end her torment by shooting her out of mercy. After talking to a lawyer, Tyler changed this version as well. Now he claimed that on that fateful day, unknown African Americans broke into Laura's house and kidnapped them both, took them to the woods, shot the woman, and released him alive, taking pity on his pleas. Despite all these attempts to justify himself, the prosecutor's office had no doubt about Tyler's guilt. The time of reckoning for the crime was approaching, and the defendant was well aware of this. The double life he had carefully hidden for several years was about to be exposed, as Laura had learned the truth and began corresponding with his fiancé. It was this carelessness that signed her death warrant. It is noteworthy that on the weekend of September 2, when the murder took place, Tyler was supposed to spend time with his fiancée in Pennsylvania, helping her choose dresses for the bridesmaids. Instead, he lied that he had injured his knee while walking the dog and could not endure a long trip. In fact, there was nothing wrong with his health. The man was simply implementing his sinister plan. The prosecution insisted that the murder of Laura was not spontaneous. Tyler had carefully planned it. This is evidenced by at least the fact that he twice brought the pregnant woman to a remote forest area. Probably, the first time he simply did not have the courage to take the life of his beloved. Tyler carefully selected the place for the massacre, a deaf corner, a hideout in the forest, which can be reached only after several hours of driving off-road in an all-wheel drive SUV, followed by an ascent and descent on steep slopes. The pregnant Laura twice overcame this difficult and exhausting route, having no idea that she was heading towards her death. The prosecutor insisted on life imprisonment without the right to early release, but this sentence was not destined to come true. On the morning of September 6, 2018, just hours before the start of the court hearing, Tyler was found dead in his cell. He committed suicide, leaving 5 suicide notes on the bunk bed. Commenting on this event, the prosecutor bitterly noted, "This morning we lost the opportunity to present to the public the true course and details of this horrific crime." At the same time, no one should have any doubt that it was Tyler who killed Laura. He knew perfectly well that he would be found guilty because we had irrefutable evidence against him. Realizing the inevitability of punishment, he decided to act like a coward. Tyler led a psychopathic double life, and his ability to lie can only be compared to his ability to breathe. Despite the outrage at such an outcome, Laura's family found solace in the fact that her killer escaped human justice by his death. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.